Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone studios. The Titans fell to 3-11 Sunday with a 37-27 loss to the Bengals at Nissan Stadium. Titans plagued by turnovers, committing 6. Will Levis with 3 interceptions and a fumble before being benched in favor of Mason Rudolph. Brian Callahan met with the media just a few minutes ago, was asked about the quarterback situation moving forward into the final 3 games, and he said he will use the next couple of days to decide who the starting quarterback for the team will be this upcoming week as the Titans will travel to the Colts. Around the NFL, the Texans clinched the AFC South title Sunday, beating the Dolphins 20-12 and getting some help as the Colts lost to the Broncos 31-13. Tonight, a Monday Night Football doubleheader will wrap up Week 15. The Vikings host the Bears, 7 p.m. the kickoff. Vikings can clinch a playoff spot with a win, and the Raiders host the Falcons at 7:30. Both teams trying to end a losing skid. You can hear Falcons and Raiders right here on The Zone, courtesy of Westwood One. Coverage starts at 7. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. Come vent your frustrations. Come talk about this quarterback situation with the Tennessee Titans. We want to hear from you. Where is your headspace at? There's been a lot of Will Levis defenders over this course of this season, even dating to when he was drafted. We want to hear from you, the detractors. Come take your victory parade if you want. Other than that, I mean, like, this is the Will Levis week, I guess you could call it, because, I mean, this is going to be the main topic, the hot topic. And Brian Callahan today, Blaine, stood up in front of the pressers today, took a lot of difficult questions, and basically...
I didn't hear him say anything. Did he say who the starter was?
Yeah, I think he told you who the starter was
by not saying
who the starter was. And that's what it was yesterday, right? Like yesterday after his post-game presser, he was... no definitive statement on who the quarterback will be. Well, that's a definitive statement on who the quarterback is, more than likely. I mean, you know, this is I knew Will Levis was going to be bad, but this bad, nobody could have predicted that. And listen, that does not mean that later on down the road, he makes a couple of stops at a couple of different teams, learns some things on how to be a pro, and doesn't look like Geno Smith or some of these other guys. But that at the end of the day, this team got its answer yesterday about the quarterback situation. The unfortunate part about it is the timing is just piss poor.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's ever a good time for that.
Yeah.
It's at the end of the season. You know, it's really interesting because I try to think about, quarterback. I was trying to think of Zach Wilson. I didn't look up his stats. I was like, man, I wonder if he was as porous as Zach Wilson at this time. And it was really just one of those days where he just had a really bad day. And that kind of happens to quarterbacks, but typically they're proven quarterbacks. So it's easy to respond. I'm going to say this. Even in this game in the beginning, Joe Burrow, the best. But I said my favorite, right? He made some boneheaded mistakes too. Right? See that? But we know his resume. Mm-hmm. See, he already has a resume. Will Levis is trying to build his resume.
We also saw what he was doing in that pocket was just
unbelievable. It was magical. I told you his feel is
you talk about it all the time.
I love him.
You light up when you can talk about Joe Burrow.
I do. He's just that guy. He's him, So, and Levis is not him. So I'm not real big on, throwing guys, under the bus and let's be fair. Everything is not fair in the National Football League, let alone in life in general. The quarterback, the star players are treated differently. Let's talk that right there. Yeah. That is very true. And everybody, you'll lose the locker. Really? You can really lose the locker room if you decide to go with somebody. Guess what? This is now a business decision. Mm-hmm. And to me, this is how you got to look at it. Will Levis is still my starter if I'm the head coach because this is a business decision. I win either way. The season is already over. If he keeps stinking it up, guess what? I get a better pick, right? If he gets better, maybe I get more trade value for him when I trade him. So these are the reasons.
People are laughing that you're even talking about trade, but I'm with you. I think there is trade value. We saw Kenny Pickett, Sam Howell, all those
when you
guys.
have an arm tackle like that, and he can revive himself. We saw Malik Willis build himself from where he started year 1 to year 3.
Right.
Sorry, he was much better. And he deserved that right to be on another team. Actually, me and you both agreed that he should have been on the roster, right? So I think that's where I would go. And everybody, you'll lose the locker. You're not going to lose the locker room. These guys get paid money. They got to go perform. If they don't perform, we are entertainers first and foremost. So you get paid to entertain. If you don't do your job, then you will no longer be there. Ask Will Levis.
Yeah.
See? So I look at it that way, really. But did you find out what you wanted to know? Absolutely, you found out.
You got that answer. This is almost what, let's see, about what we were talking about. You would find out, I think this would be, that game threshold we were kind of talking about. This is right there. I mean, we found, it was, especially when you factor in the Jags game. Let's not leave out in this discussion the Jags game. Let's not even leave out the Bears game where he cost him 11 points. Will Levis turnovers have yielded 59 points for the other team this year. 59 points. 11 points in the Bears game, which was a game that they should have won. And listen, there were other things that happened, but your quarterback is supposed to be a guy that doesn't hurt you. He's supposed to help you. Mm-hmm. When your special teams has a blocked punt or gives up big returns, your quarterback's supposed to be able to overcome that. That's what we have never seen from Will Levis outside of that overtime drive with the Dolphins last year. But that's the outlier, because what you've seen this year is a guy who can oftentimes be a robot and do what he's told, but he's not quick enough with the CPU processing. His processor's not quick enough. That microchip's on the fritz more often than not. And he can't win you games. Like, this is a guy that is actively losing you games, and he can't get you to important wins down the stretch. I mean, think about it, Blaine. He didn't win you the Jaguars game, which had paths to victory for the quarterback. His turnovers yesterday, including a pick six, 24 Bengals points off his turnovers. 24.
Yeah.
11 points off the Bears.
Well, that's the difference between him and Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow would then come back and
make you pay for him.
Right. See, that's the difference. And he couldn't respond, because you're going to have bad plays as a player at quarterback. It's no way around it. Guys are too good in this league, and they study you and your habits. But it's always about how you respond to it, man. And he went in the tank. I feel really, really bad for him. But at the same time, I said I still put him out there.
Yeah,
just because
which is very interesting, because I think.
Tell me your response. Would you put him out there?
So that's the thing. So I was talking to some friends this morning. I was like, I'm really torn on putting Will Levis, because that one part of me is like, screw it. I mean, just put him out there, and the other part's like, but do you want to win games? And like, the way
why does it matter now at this point?
See, that's what I'm saying, but there's also a building a winning culture aspect of it. And the stuff that Brian Callahan talked today, I don't know if maybe he's shielding himself, because he's talking about what gives the team the best chance to win. Am I holding Will Levis to the same standards I'm holding other players to? And that was his big thing today. Is he just shielding himself for when he makes this inevitable decision that Mason Rudolph's going to start? Or is he, because he says, I've had confidence all year long at Will Levis. I think you guys have heard me talk about it. So, it will be very interesting. So I just don't understand. To me, I would start him. I'm in the same boat with you. But I wonder how much of their job security is also tied to it. Maybe I don't know. There's so much political and business aspects of it that we don't get to see. But I am with you.
It was the first time I felt like he was being political up there.
Yeah. Listen, he caught himself once. There is a point where he's talking about something, and he was about to say quarterback, and then he said team. You could see that he caught himself, because he's about to put more blame on the quarterback, and he's either switched it to team or us. And I'm like, ooh, he caught himself there. That was almost a big one. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, I look at it and I go, man, I don't see a real reason not to, because I'm with you. But it kind of sounds like the way that Callahan is talking, that maybe there's a little bit of these guys in the locker room don't want to see him out there. I don't know. But that's kind of the way that he phrased some things kind of made me think about that. But I'm with you. It shouldn't matter. If you're a professional, and like Jeffrey Simmons talked about last week that people took out of context, you're playing for pride, playing for resume, playing for that name on the back. Like, again, I don't know. It just seems like.
I'm going to give you an example.
Okay.
Real quick. Steve McNair played, and they booed him. And everybody wanted Neil O'Donnell. And Neil O'Donnell played well.
Yeah.
And everybody wanted to stick with Neil O'Donnell. And I think there's even some people in the locker room. I said I would have at least one more game until he came back from injury. They played Steve McNair.
Yeah.
And they booed him when he came off. And then second half, they were cheering him. See? And he didn't have a whole buildup of great play. Good play, but not great play.
Yeah.
So, what the fans say and what people you're trying to accomplish in a locker room.
I don't think the fans are even a part of it.
But even within a locker room, I don't think you're really basing this decision at this point in time on building your culture in your locker room based off of these next 3 games. You've been doing it before with them. This has now become a business. And I'm going to make this business decision instead of the emotional decision. The emotional decision is say, we cut our ties and we're going to go on to Mason. That's what it tells you. He should be the starter. But, okay, what are we going to do with Will Levis next year? Like, in my eyes, they should say, we don't want him on the roster.
Oh,
if you're the GM and people up top. So then you say, well, can we get something for him?
Yeah.
How do we accomplish that?
Well, the Steelers were able to trade Kenny Pickett this season, even though they started Mason. But I'm just saying, I kind of view it the opposite way. I do think that it would be a pretty big business decision to go with Mason, because I look at it from a results-oriented business. If he gives you the best chance to win, that gives you the best results on the field.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah, that is true.
I mean, I would say that is part of it, and I think that is kind of the aspect that they're taking into account. It's more about the victories and the results than it is anything else.
So that means then they think their job is on the line.
Maybe so. Maybe so. We'll talk more about that. We'll also get to your phone calls. BAM's online, 615-737-1045. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 1045 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. Call in now for your vent session about the Tennessee Titans and Will Levis. The title of today's show is Will Levis-sized iceberg has sunk the 2024 Titans. You like that little Titanic?
Oh, man, that was on point.
You like it? Everybody's kind of like, just saying that Will Levis played bad. I had to get a little bit creative with it. Let's go to Bam in Nashville.
That was bad, man.
Bam, you want to talk about Will Levis? You're on with Blaine and Zach.
Bam, bam.
Hey, what up, my boy? How y'all feeling? Everybody good over there?
Doing good.
Yeah, we're surviving the storm.
All right, man. So let's talk about from a Titans heart right now, bro. A Titans diehard fan. Bro, I'm over this, and I have to be very, because, make sure we don't use any explicitives to get you canceled off the show.
Right.
We are over this shenanigans, or shenano, as Babs would say. It's just too much. It's like, I'm not saying Mason is a savior or a better. But I'm saying ever since the Miami game, whenever Mason Rudolph is in the game, and he's had his own share of boo-boos, but when he's in, this team looks like a more competent team. You said Will Levis had 88 yards yesterday. Mason played a quarter and a half and had over 200 yards. Man, come on, man. You got to see that there's something. Ever since the Miami game, and I've been at every game minus the Detroit game that he's been in. And it's like the team moves better. Everything moves better with him. And it's like Levis is just like, bro, I'm over it. I can't take it no more. I just literally cannot take. And it's like I feel like Callahan has done everything that he can to try to put him in position to secure the job, get the job, all the above. But Levis is just like he's self-imploding. He's taking the team and everybody down with him.
Yeah.
So that's my problem with it, and that's just kind of why
That's valid. That's valid.
I think that's a great call. Bam said it succinctly and cleanly.
Yeah,
Let's not forget that. Props to Bam, but he's right. This is a sinking ship, and it's like the Titans are, got their feet tied up with a cinder block, and that cinder block is named Will Levis. And again, I agree with you. I mean, kind of screw it. Just play Will Levis anyway. I mean, it doesn't really matter. You're 3-11. But at the end of the day, it's still next year. Trade Will Levis, get you a 6th or 7th. Maybe you'll find someone that says, "Hey, he's got great arm strength. I'll give you a 5th for it." Mm-hmm. Maybe. But like at the end of the day, we have our answer on 2025.
Oh, I know. I want to get him out of the locker room is my reason to play him, not because of it's a sinking ship, and this season is over. So putting Mason Rudolph, as we saw when he got into the game, he actually threw a pick, which I'm a little surprised. He is definitely a number 2. He'll never be threatening to be a number 1, at least not on this team, based off what I've seen, not from afar with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but here in person. So I don't see him ever being the starter. But one thing is a little bit different. What Bam said is it was different situations. He got in the game where you're trying to, you only have so many series left, so they threw the ball a lot more. So he's going to have better stats. You can't just look at the stats and say he had better stats. He had better stats because he was in a situation where they threw the ball, play in and play out pretty much at that point in time because they're trying to hurry up and get down the field and win, get some points on the board, whether it worked or not. So a little bit different, but I get it. He was the better player that day. It's hard to usurp 4 turnovers. I mean, come on, man.
4 turnovers that led to 24 points. I mean, that's horrible. I mean, you're talking about a game where you only lost. You didn't really lose by much. I mean, obviously, there's some garbage time stats to it and stuff like that. And QBR takes garbage time stats out of it and kind of adjusts for the opponent you're playing and stuff. And listen, Mason Rudolph's QBR was still below average because it takes out a lot of that stuff. I mean, below average is 60. He was at 50.5. Well, Will Levis was at 1.1. I'm not even joking. Someone thought I had a typo. I'm like, no, it's 1.1.
Is that real? Did you put the wrong button?
Even with garbage time, yes, Mason Rudolph is a average to below average starter. Mm-hmm. But the problem is that Levis is a below average starter that's going to lose you the game more than he's going to win it.
So you like my idea of what I proposed last week? Do you remember?
Oh, no, because say it again.
Hendon Hooker.
Hey, listen, I would do anything to get
Right.
Will Levis off this team.
Right, to swap him, swap him out.
Dude, I'm in for anything. Short of Daniel Jones coming in for this team, I'm up for anything. Because, I mean, Daniel Jones just Will Levis.
I'm so desperate, I would have brought him as a flyer.
Yeah.
I would.
Well, I mean, as a backup or something, but I don't know if Daniel Jones is your 2025 solution.
Guess what? I would have. Will Levis wouldn't even be dressed if I would have signed Daniel Jones to the practice squad, as I said before, just to see what he looked like, to see if I can get my eyes on him, see if he could be potentially something. And then Mason Rudolph would have started. Then once he threw that pick, I would put him in there.
Listen, you want to bring in Justin Fields? I'm here for. You want to trade for Jake Browning? I'm here for. You want to bring in Sam Darnold? You want to draft Shadur Sanders? Hell, I'll do it. I'll even take Cam Ward, who I don't even believe in. Anything to get Will Levis off that team.
Going back.
I know Drew Allar's going back.
Dang.
I'll take anything to get Will Levis off this team. I am not. And listen, this coaching staff isn't either. But I'm not sitting through another season of Will Levis. I mean, I get paid to, so I will. But like that is just going to get people fired over in that stadium. You cannot go in 2025 with Will.
That's what the Titans organization and the coaching staff, head coach, and all the higher ups. Yeah. The business decision versus what are we trying to accomplish here,
right?
And try to win games, because the owner must understand if we go this route, then what are we going to do with Will Levis?
Yeah.
You got to have these kind of tough conversations. And then that's really the motive for me why I'm putting him out there, not because I think he's going to be the guy.
Yeah. Ernie, if you're still listening, call back in. I was going to actually go straight to your phones. But, hey, 615-737-1045. I want to get your perception and perspective, I guess is the better word I was looking for, on something that Ramon Foster said this morning. So Will Bowling asked him a question about his time on the sidelines. And said, hey, what did you see? What did you think of everything that happened with Will Levis on the sidelines after he got benched? And Ramon Foster gave a pretty telling scenario and situation, very detailed. So this is what Ramon Foster said this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will.
What did you see on the sideline from Will as the game went, and what was the reaction like when Mason did go in?
Man, dog, listen, I saw the entire thing unfolded, and all I was thinking to myself, there's no resistance. Like, that was my biggest thing. It's like, however the conversation was had, I thought it was supposed to be between Coach Brian Callahan and Levis, but it was reported from Levis himself. It was Bo Hardigree, the quarterback's coach, that grabbed him and told him, hey, you're done. And not in those words, but essentially, hey, you're done. We're going with Mason. And in that moment right there, Mason got a ball from one of the Titans staffers and started warming up. It was the quickest warm up I've ever seen in my life. Levis goes over to the bench, man, tossed his helmet on the helmet warmer because it was a cool game yesterday, grabbed the baseball cap and just started pacing back and forth. There was hardly any resistance. And I guess you really can't have much. It just honestly felt like watching it unfold there was a conversation that was had before they came out from halftime. And it felt like if he threw one more interception and one more bad play, then he was coming out. It honestly felt like it was predetermined. A bad play like that yesterday, and that'll give you the answers you want any.
So what did you think about that? I mean, the no resistance part, the throwing the helmet onto the thing. I've heard a couple of people that were in attendance that said that anytime he came off the field, he didn't even want to, he was just throwing a temper tantrum and didn't even want to go look at the iPads for like 3 minutes or so. I mean, what do you think about all
I'm
that?
at every game because I'm for a policy for the National Football League, and I watch Will Levis all the time. And that's why I always talk about his temperament. He acts like he's a baby that didn't get his way. It's never his fault. He puts his hands up. Nobody's around him talking to him. I think the guy you're talking about, Bo or whatever, he'd sometimes come over and talk to him with the pad. I definitely heard Callahan said, he was dealing with the process. I would have liked for it to have been the head coach. I think there's time to walk over there and say, hey, we're going to go in a different direction right now. You're not playing so well. I get you're trying to, run the rest of the game, but I thought that was something that needed to be done in person, in his face, and tell him, hey, man, it's just not your day.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was conveyed to him, but if I was the head coach, that's how I would have approached it. I think Callahan, gets a little overwhelmed a little bit with all the things that's going on as a head coach, so I get it. Him not battling, you know what, it didn't, I'm numb to it because I would say
you're
once that decision happens,
yeah.
there's nothing you can do. Like there is no, let's have a discussion and let's kind of play this out and why I should be going back out there.
Right.
Just think about that now. 4 turnovers. What is your argument from Will Levis' side? Besides, I get it. I'm not having a good day.
Yeah.
I'm horrible today. There's nothing you can do. I mean, really. So I didn't. I'm more so about is during the game and all of what was going on, and he's always putting his hands up like he's trying to explain stuff, and so you don't know what is being said.
Yeah.
But
it also always seems it's someone else's fault. Never really.
It's just his body language.
Yeah.
It does seem that way.
Oh yeah.
But no, I had no problem with how he responded to the benching. Nah, and that's no big deal to me. What were you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do if your boss comes there and said, "Hey man, this is your last day on air"? What are you talking about? No, this your last. Yeah.
I would fight for it, but I think it's a different situation.
A little different because it's sport.
But that's also my mentality is that I'm always going to try and fight for it to the end and something I believe in. And maybe he just knew that it was done. And like maybe Ramon said, maybe it felt like there was a conversation at halftime, and so Will Levis knew he really didn't have a leg to stand on. And maybe that's the case.
Right. Yeah,
like if you get warned 3 times, then I wouldn't have a leg to stand on, right?
I was trying to find him.
Right.
I mean, I was like, where did he go?
Yeah.
Like, what is he doing? Like, I thought he disappeared,
Right.
but then you saw him down there still kind of having a conversation. But at that point in time, he's trying to stay out of the way and make sure, he's supporting Mason. And
these mistakes go all the way back to the Jaguars game and then even further to the beginning of the season. But really, these last 2 games, I think that he showed Brian Callahan, your faith and confidence in me is misplaced. Let's go to
I want people to think about every time a quarterback gets benched, if they see him over there arguing for their point to stay in the game.
Yeah.
Think about that now.
Gotcha.
I think we're being a little more petty than in reality what really happens in a pro game.
Let's go to Elizabeth, who wants to talk to Tennessee Titans. Elizabeth, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Okay, I am really old, but I played basketball when I was younger, in high school and all. Back in the day when there was forwards and guards, and the guards had to get the ball before the other team scored and bounce that ball back to the forwards on your own team, and we got it done. This is, it takes all of the players to have a good team. If you don't have all good players, you find one. That's what I need to tell you. And so that's all I need to say. But it's not fair to the ones that are trying their best, and not everyone can or is.
What do you think about that? Thanks for the call, Elizabeth. What do you think about that?
I don't understand what we're saying.
Well, she said that it's not fair to the rest of the players, pretty much. But it's your stance. It's a business, and you got self pride.
Yeah, self pride, and it's a business. That's I know from a fan perspective, they won't connect with that. And if I was sitting on that side and never got to play pro ball, I would be sitting there saying the exact same thing. So no, I get it. But this is a game you get paid to do. So if you're not performing, you sit, and those decisions are made from up top and the head coach. And you have no say-so over that at all. Mind you, now I was captain 8 of my 9 years with the Titans. I mean, so sometimes you're sitting there saying, "Dang, why did they make that decision?"
Right.
I used to say that in my head, like, "What is going on here?" Did nobody console the captain or the leadership group or any of that? So that's just kind of how I view it. And all I do is just kind of, you better make sure you're handling your job. Because as soon as you start pointing that finger going to start pointing right back at you. And so you better be careful there, because sports will humble you really quickly. That's just kind of how you go about it. This is not like college, or this is not like high school, and, it's not fair. And, everybody, no, those guys aren't making millions of dollars. See, so this is different now. So let's just keep that in mind. This is professional sports. And, not, high school sports, and it should be fair for everyone. Life isn't fair always.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, that's where you're at, is that, it's a tough situation to be put in if you're the coach. I'm sure, listen, and at the end of the day, Will Levis is still a human, we think. And I mean, not a robot, but I mean, he's obviously, he could be have been replaced. He could be a lizard person for all I know. But at the end of the day, I mean, he's still a person, right? And so, it sucks that we're having to talk about someone's job performance. And that's ultimately what we're talking about. We're not talking about him personally.
Right.
We're talking about job performance. And at the end of the day, there are distinct games that you can point to where he did not live up to snuff. There are other games that you could say, well, man, if we just had a quarterback that could maybe do the things that he's instructed to do and get through the reads, well, man, he may actually have won you a couple of more games. Like, if you put Sam Darnold on this team, I'm pretty convinced we're talking about a 7-7 team at worst. 4 more wins. I think he wins the Jaguars game. I think he wins the Bears game, the Colts game, and the Bengals game. And because all those had different defining moments of Will Levis not being able to win you the game or costing you the game. And listen, that also turns the Vikings game into a winnable game because they wouldn't have Sam Darnold. That would turn the Jets into a winnable game where Levis cost the team 7 points. And maybe there's something there for the Packers game. Maybe they don't get down 17-7. And the whole script is flipped on them.
You saying they should go sign Sam Darnold?
I don't know. I'm just saying.
This is a
I'm just saying for those that listen. I'm just saying for right now, for those people that think that Sam Darnold would have the same record on the Tennessee Titans as Will Levis, you guys are crazy.
No.
You're just crazy. It's not rooted in reality.
No, I think he's more quarterback centric and was in a bad spot there with the Jets and then kind of revived his career with the 49ers. And sometimes scheme and system works for different players and just a better fit.
He was a top 10 quarterback with the 2022 Panthers with Matt Rule, and his best receiver and only receiver was DJ Moore.
And he started off
and
really
he was
hot.
good.
Yeah, he was. Then all of a sudden he went back to being Sam Darnold, throwing to the wrong dude on the other team.
All right, let's go to Matthew, who wants to talk about Tennessee Titans. Matthew, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Whoa. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Listen to you every day. Love everything about you.
Appreciate
it. But I need some help. I went to the doctor this morning and got a bad diagnosis.
Uh-oh.
This is supposed to be funny.
I've got PTSD, post-traumatic Levis disorder, caused by trauma from the whole year long, and it's finally caught up with me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. It has been, listen, I've said you just keep on playing with Will Levis because, thanks, Matthew. You just keep on playing with Will Levis because just enjoy the roller coaster, and it has been one of the scariest roller coasters I've ever been on.
They give it to us, we give it back.
Yeah.
Oh, they give it to us, we give it back again.
That was a wild game.
I couldn't believe
it. At least it was an exciting loss.
It wasn't a 10-6 loss. At least it was an exciting loss. Sleep, man. I'm seriously, I had to wake back up a couple times.
And if the defense maybe could have got a stop in the fourth quarter when they went on a big 5-minute run, you may have had an actual game on your hands with Mason Rudolph. You never know. Yeah. Let's go to Steve, who wants to talk about Will Levis. Steve, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey guys, appreciate you taking my call.
No problem.
I didn't get to make it to the game yesterday. I'm a PSL holder, but for the third week straight, I've donated my tickets to the Veterans Society. So,
that's awesome.
Awesome, man.
But cool. I tell you, man, it's been a little less stress. I hadn't had to be there and deal with that. That's a huge roller coaster ride, and it's just disappointing. But my question is, I heard that the crowd booed Levis when he got sit, and I'm wondering. I mean, that's got to affect his confidence. And I wanted to ask Blaine, how do you think that would make a player feel, and what does that do going forward to him?
Yeah, I mean, he makes a good point, Steve does. And Steve, that's awesome what you do with your tickets. I mean, that's so cool. But also, just real quick, it wasn't just that Levis got booed. Mason Rudolph got a standing ovation when they put him in.
For the 4 people that were there?
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, listen. 4 more maybe from the Jaguars game. But, I mean, that's kind of crazy, though.
Yeah, I've seen worse. And so, I've seen them boo McNair. So, what the fans' reactions are at that point in time is all emotional. And he was playing horrific. Yeah, did you want someone to make a change and put in somebody different? Mason Rudolph wasn't going to be the answer. And the first thing I said when I'm sitting up there watching the game was, oh, what happens when he throws a pick? They booed.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. See, so at the end of the day,
there's just no winning.
Nobody won there in that battle, I mean, in my mind. So it was, we really don't have a starting quarterback on our team. But yeah, is he probably the best version, a safer version of what you want at quarterback? Probably so. But the wow factor, you're gonna get that sometimes from Levis, and sometimes you'll get, oh, why did you do that?
Yeah.
So.
All right, more of your phone calls when we come back. 615-737-1045. Tommy, we're getting to you, and we got some more phone calls rolling in. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 1045 The Zone.
Hey, this is Blaine Bishop, and I want to know if you have heard about peptides. And peptides are shaking up the fitness world. They are naturally occurring aminos in our bodies. So as we age, you start to decline. And at some point, they may need to be supplemented. This is why our workouts can stop being productive at the gym. So maybe you feel like you've hit a wall, or perhaps you feel tired all the time. You may be struggling to stay awake in the evenings when you get home from work. So if you had the thought that this is just a normal part of aging, it doesn't have to be that way. Peptides are proven to increase muscle and performance, burn fat, and help with recovery between workouts and more. Peptides can even help with motivation and mental clarity. These are safe, naturally occurring aminos, not pharmaceuticals. A natural and holistic way to get your body back to peak performance. Plus, Edge Peptide Therapy has the most comprehensive blood panel around. So when you get to Edge, you will know exactly what is going on inside of your body and what it needs to get back to peak performance. So feel better from the inside out. All you have to do is go to edgepeptide.com. Yes, that's edgepeptide.com, or you can just give them a call at 615-724-1878. That's 724-1878.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here at 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door, 615-737-1045. We were just having a quick conversation before we get to your phones about, I think that you could actually get, as crazy as this is going to sound, based on what these other quarterbacks got traded for, and Will Levis has more arm strength, I guess you would say, than these other ones, that maybe there's a team that would actually give up a fifth for Will Levis. And then maybe that's too high on our own supply. I can admit that maybe that's kind of crazy sounding. But if you really think about it, think about teams that really may have a iffy quarterback situation already, that they know a guy is aging out and about to leave, like the L.A. Rams. The L.A. Rams could look at Will Levis and be like, okay, well, Matt Stafford, we still got a couple years of Matt Stafford. Let's develop Will Levis. It's not going to be a big hit to do so. They don't like draft picks anyway. I mean, it's possible. Like, it's really a possible situation, and it's whether he plays or not.
That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, you almost could do more damage to your trade value if he plays the rest of the way.
Well, if he plays horrible.
Yeah, which he probably will. This guy calls spade a spade. Let's get into the phone calls, though. Tommy in Nashville wants to talk about Hendon Hooker. Tommy, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to say I am not a Titans fan. So with the comment about bringing Hendon Hooker in, I would hate to see that, just for the fact that if you bring Hendon Hooker in, Titans going to go to the playoffs.
You don't. Oh, so who are you a fan of?
Man, I hate to say it, but I'm a Raiders fan.
Oh, wow. You're in just as bad situation as we are. Shadur Sanders, you believe in him or not?
No, I don't want the Raiders have to deal with Dion.
All right, there you go. So Tommy, Raiders fan, doesn't want Hendon Hooker to go with the go to the play. Doesn't want Titans to get Hendon Hooker so they don't go to the playoffs. And then I think I just butchered that as well. And then he also said that he's out on Shadur Sanders, so maybe he's a Cam Ward guy. Good luck with that. Let's go to
Will Levis 2.
Yeah, Will Levis 2.0. Let's go to Steve in Nashville who wants to talk about Levis's boos and Rudolph's ovation. Steve, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for taking my call, guys. Were you at the game, Zach?
I was not. I watched the thing here.
Because I heard, there was no. So here, I'm going to throw you something. I was sitting in 121. There was no boos. There was no standing ovation for Levis or for when Rudolph came in. And I know what people are going to say. I'm not defending Will Levis at all. I mean,
well, I heard boos for Will Levis, so
I was there. I was there. They did boo him, and I don't know about the standing ovation. You're right.
Yeah,
about
all the reporters are the ones that were there. All the reporters that were there are the ones who said the standing ovation thing.
I realize that's what they said. I'm just telling you, I was sitting there too, and it's like, okay. But you know when a game's over and a game's over, you know it's over. They quit playing. Both teams essentially quit playing when it was, 31-14.
Yes.
So Rudolph came in and had all those good numbers. I don't know what they're going to do. My biggest thing, and Blaine, you played the game at the highest level. I'll tell you what I'm looking at. We don't know whether it's the coaching staff, Rudolph, or Levis. Because Levis has looked terrible, okay? Rudolph doesn't look that much better when he comes in. And people go, he did this, did that. He's playing. Man, the game was over. Every game he seems to have been in, it's like, so he's making the same mistakes too, throwing a pick when he comes in.
Mm-hmm.
I have very little faith in the coaching staff. Blaine, kind of talk about your position coaches and what looks different. And you may not be able to compare apples and oranges, but, dude, I don't trust it.
Yeah, I think he brought up a really interesting point of whose fault is it, because it's consistent with whoever they put in there. And maybe it's just a roster construction, and maybe they just don't have good enough players that are capable of fitting. Sometimes I talk about rosters and scheme and system and fit. That kind of works, hand in hand with, how you develop in players. So they're coming in transitioning with players that maybe doesn't fit what they're doing, and then they trying to, half of it does and half of it doesn't. So, you got to get the right fit for the right player. So that could have happened. Obviously, it was clear on special teams. They didn't have the right players.
It was a player issue. And let's be honest, you go watch Will Levis throw away all these games, it's a player issue. And now, I can't speak for that for Mason Rudolph, but Mason Rudolph's also not a guy that lights the world on fire. I think we've talked about that ad nauseum. He doesn't really we're not talking about, Mason Rudolph's not even on the same level as Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold and Geno Smith. I mean, Mason Rudolph's on the level of, a guy that can maybe win you one or two games. And we're not talking about an uber talented guy. But if you guys don't think that this is mainly a quarterback issue, I don't know what games you're watching, because 4 pick sixes this year. Terrible pick sixes. Fumbles. Other interceptions. 17 turnovers that have led to 59 points. I mean, like, it's the proof's in the pudding. I know that Mason Rudolph has turned it over as well, but they're not the same kind of turnovers that you see from Will Levis. I mean, Will Levis is still staring down reads. I mean, that Chigakonkwo deep pass, staring down a read. Doesn't even look off the read from the snap of the ball. And we're now in week 15, and he is still doing the stuff that's in week 1. He's not good. There's just no way around it. There's no way to sugarcoat it. I'm sorry. And maybe you can say that the coaching staff was supposed to make something out of a mountain out of a molehill, or, whatever. But they can't do anything with Will Levis. And he's telling you.
That's what I really want to know.
He's telling you without telling you.
No, what they really thought at the beginning of the season.
Well, I'm sure at the beginning of the season they thought, before they thought, I mean, like any coach is going to take this job with Will Levis and say, look at all the tangibles and say, hey, I know I'm interviewing for a job with you, Amy, and Burke and Rand, and you guys have gone out and said that Will Levis is your guy. Here's what I think I can do with Will Levis. He's not going to go in there and say, you got to choose me or choose Will Levis. Or, hey, guess what? I'll take the job, but there's ain't nothing I can do with this Will Levis kid. Nobody's going to get a job like that. Like, he thought that he could fix him. And then as it probably goes on.
Guru.
Yeah. Well, now that's what Joe Rex wrote and a couple of other people on The Athletic. And I think the other one was like Titans Nation or Titan Sized or something like that. When you Google it, there's only 2 articles, and they're articles after he got here. So, like, at the end of the day.
But he talked about it, quarterbacks he's been a part of.
Yes. But he never developed him, but he knows what a winning offense looks like. He knows what a successful offense looks like. And he's told you these last few weeks without saying so, well, you're supposed to, like today, he talked about all the turnovers at the top of the thing. He said, he basically said there are quarterback issues. He talked about the reads that Will Levis missed last week. This is a quarterback issue. This is not a scheme issue. This is not a coaching issue.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Like, this is a quarterback issue, no doubt about it. When we come back, we'll talk more about the quote unquote coaching issue of the Tennessee Titans. We'll also get to Jack and Donaldson, 615-737-1045. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 1045 The Zone.
I love living in Middle Tennessee. We've got great restaurants, entertainment, sports, and one of the nation's top Ford dealers right here in our backyard, Two Rivers Ford. Remember that name. Two Rivers has been a staple in our community since 1983. They're locally owned. They have a non-commissioned sales team, and they sell below MSRP. They've been doing business with integrity for decades. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
Hey, it's Zach Lyons here of 104.5 The Zone, and as the resident sports analytics nerd, I know data, and the numbers tell me that the dual power of radio and digital on 104.5 has always delivered for local advertisers. Now's your chance to book your 2025 marketing campaign early with special savings and incentives. Reach out today to your local ad representative or go to 1045thezone.com/epic. Hour 2 of Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. The discussion today has been Will Levis, and we'll be talking about how a bad quarterback play does not necessarily mean you have a bad coaching staff. But first, we're going to go to Harper in McMinnville, who wants to talk Tennessee Titans. Harper, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey, how are y'all doing?
Doing good. How are you?
Good.
I'm good. Me and my dad, we've been season ticket members, man, for about 7 or 8 years, and this season's been the most frustrating season, disappointing season, because with Will Levis last season, I thought he was going to be better this year, and it's so frustrating from years past. We're still missing a right tackle because Isaiah Wilson, he quit on us, and we're still needing corner depth, and Caleb Farley not turning out the way he wanted to, and that's just the frustrating things. And Will Levis, like I said, not being what we thought he was going to be is very, very frustrating. And it's also frustrating because you get an offensive-minded coach, and it seems like he can't figure it out also. And that's all I was calling to say.
Yeah, I think Harper's right to feel frustrated, but you got to remember you can't. Sometimes I think, and this is a caller, a guy named Michigan called on Titans Talk Back last night, and he essentially said this. I'm paraphrasing, I'm kind of churching it up a little bit. Okay. He's saying that there's a lot of people in this fan base and media that are seeing this season through a lens of frustration, and they're not able to see things clearly, because that takes me back to the coaching staff. The coaching staff knows what they need to do. Mm-hmm. They've talked about it every week, what they need to do, and right now they just don't have the pieces to do it.
I think they're also learning too, though. By the way,
they are.
They're on a rapid rate. I mean, I think he's figured out play calling and managing the game at the same time. Right. I think that's not even an issue. You can always be picky about a play call on offense or defense when you're coordinators and things of that nature. Every game, win, lose, or draw. I mean, so that they've figured out, with a lot of inexperienced guys, first-time play caller, head coach, SDC, special teams coach. So I think they've gotten their kinks and found their way. Now they're realizing that the players aren't what they thought they were, and now they're trying to get better pieces to patchwork right now, and that's almost impossible once the season starts.
Yeah, I look at it like that in the sense that they were we knew that they were going to have a learning curve, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, they have some very
People forget Vrabel went through the same thing. He said, we're going to go for it on every fourth down.
Yeah.
I said, how can you say that? You ain't even been in the situation yet. You don't know that.
I mean, they got some very experienced coaches on the staff, but they also have a lot of new coaches in new situations as well. I mean, like old coaches, I guess you'd say, in new situations. Because, I mean, Denard Wilson, Brian Callahan are super experienced coaches. There's no disputing that. They've been in the league for forever.
But they haven't been play callers. So we have to understand that they know football. This staff is not... They know what they want.
Not, lacking in football experience and football knowledge NFL. Outside of really Colt Anderson. But Colt Anderson does have playing experience, for 9 or 10 years. But guess what? Colt Anderson has been an issue these last 2 weeks. Now, listen, he gets a little pass for yesterday's game because there wasn't really much opportunity for his special teams to do anything. But when they did have the opportunities, they didn't look terrible. So, again, players over plays. Let's go to Buffalo and Gallatin, who wants to talk about Will Levis. Buffalo, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Buffalo.
I'm just going to go against everything you just said. Look at all the players that left the Titans and balled out. Look at Malik Willis. Look at that other guy. There's been so many players that left the Titans. Yeah. I mean, there's all kind of players that left the Titans and did fantastic. Here you got somewhat talented, he's got an arm anyway, a quarterback, and he's just a failure. I mean, he'll go a good half, then a bunch of failure. Honestly, I think it's the coaches, maybe a little bit of supporting cast, but hey, go Packers. How about them Green Bay Packers?
So how much blame are you putting on Levis?
I'm going to say 20%. He's just a little green. He's green. And I'm saying the coaches are failing that man. Watch him go somewhere and be somebody next year. I mean, it could happen.
It may happen, but we got to be honest. I don't think anybody's looking at Will Levis as a starter in the NFL. 32 teams passed him on the first round, and also remember that green is the color of trash. Let's go to Jim in Connecticut, who wants to talk about Will Levis. Jim, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Sliding stuff in there, man.
Hey, how you guys doing? I saw you on YouTube, so I clicked, and you guys were talking Will Levis.
Yes, sir.
So I could tell you, maybe 5 months ago, he was right up the street conducting a football camp at a school he had gone to, high school.
Uh-huh.
But, when I take a look at like how you guys are talking about Will Levis, let's talk about how bad Sam Darnold was. Let's talk about how bad Geno Smith was. Let's talk about how bad Russell Wilson was.
Mm-hmm.
And look where those guys are now. So, I don't know what's going on down Tennessee. I don't really watch your games, but I know Willis is a Connecticut guy, and anything can happen. He could have an incredible year next year, I think. Probably, I was listening to someone say first read. He only focuses on the first read. Like, he's got to learn that kind of mindset. He probably just doesn't know. He probably freaks out, when he gets the ball. I think it's more like training and just learning how to play football more than his actual talent. Because I think he's a good, NFL quarterback. He
definitely has talent. He's arm talent is there.
And Jim, just so you know, we definitely have talked, because you just clicked in, but we talked at the beginning of the show that, just because he can't make it as Tennessee Titan doesn't mean his NFL career is over. And we said all those things. The problem is in the NFL is that this staff is not going to be allowed the time to sit around for 5 or 6 years, or in Geno Smith's case, 9 years, to wait on Will Levis.
No, I do get that. And I think it's his second year, and, he's tall. I mean, look at Tom Brady, or even, Brock Purdy. So, it's like maybe they don't have time to wait, but I don't know. Anything can happen, and I just I kind of feel bad that, he's stuck where he is. I don't watch the Titans. I watch, Patriots, but, I just feel bad for the guy. I think he really needs, like, maybe it's muscle memory. I don't know if it's vision memory to look first read, second read, third read, how that all works. Like how a person like Brady or, Josh Allen, how those guys read, like what is going on for them to be able to do that kind of read. So I think it's more like mental training, possibly. I don't know.
Oh, it definitely is. And thanks for the call, Jim, because that's what he's talked about, right?
Yeah,
I mean, Will Levis has talked about
it.
The situation of rewiring his brain and all this stuff. And, at a certain point, you just have to, figure it out, at some point as a pro, and he just hasn't been able to do it. He reverts back too much in critical situations to old Will Levis. And these are just habits that have never been broken out from him since being in college or since becoming a quarterback. And at this point, it's going to be, he's right, it's going to be muscle memory. That's why it may take a while. That's why I'm saying it just may take a while.
Because that's naturally who he is.
Yeah. Let's go to Mike, who wants to talk about Will Levis. Mike, you're on with Nashville. Or, Mike, you're in Nashville, but you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey, guys, how's it going?
Going good.
The thing about Will Levis, and I was talking to my dad about this, when I watch him play, it seems to me like he's getting worse. And he's not progressing. I don't see improvements. It's not something when I watch it, I'm like, all right, like there's something there. It just seems like he's getting worse. I told my dad, I was like, he plays like a poor man's Brett Favre or Josh Allen, where he thinks he's a gunslinger, but he's not. He's just not, because he doesn't read the field well. It seems like the NFL, Blaine, and you would know, the defense is just moving too fast for him, and he can't process it. And I think I wanted to ask you guys this too, but don't you think, since we're going to probably get a top 3 pick, at least I think that's where it's looking, that we have to go get a quarterback, right? Callahan has to get one. He has to.
Hey,
that's all
Mike brought up some good points, processing, all that stuff we both, I think, definitely agree with. As far as the quarterback situation, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out, because I don't think there's a quarterback anybody's really going to trade a bounty for. So a quarterback that you may fall in love with you, but you probably need to be looking pretty heavily at quarterbacks, depending on how you handle free agency if you're the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only option. So then on top of the list is going to be Sam Darnold, and then who else is in the list? Because there's going to be a lot of people standing in line maybe doing the same thing. So this is a tough year to really need a quarterback.
Not good timing.
Oh, my.
When we come back, we're going to get to G-Money, who's in Memphis, my hometown, who apparently wants to challenge me to something. And then we have Mark in Murfreesboro. This is covered, too, with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone.
For many of you who have lived here a long time, you already know Eurofix has been in Middle Tennessee area for your European car repair needs now for 24 years. We've all gotten to watch them grow. And I don't know about you, but I love watching a hometown business take off. Well, we're now proud to announce the 5th location in Mount Juliet for Eurofix on Mount Juliet Road, right across the street from Dairy Queen. And Eurofix can serve you in Franklin, Hundred Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and now Mount Juliet. Pretty cool getting to watch a small-town mechanic starting in the barn of his backyard of a single-wide trailer and now grow to 5 locations repairing thousands of cars each month. And at Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can just visit them online at myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com. But always tell them Blaine said you.
Hello, I'm Ashley Northington, Chair of Moving Forward of Middle Tennessee. The upcoming transit referendum is a game changer for our economy, business leaders, and the entire community. A robust transit system is essential for a thriving economy. With 54 miles of high-capacity transit corridors and 86 miles of new sidewalks, this plan enhances Nashville's connectivity, making it easier for everyone to get where they need to go. This isn't just about transportation, it's about economic empowerment. For business leaders, reliable transit means a more productive workforce. Shorter commutes boost productivity and job satisfaction, helping businesses attract and retain top talent. Improved transit also drives sales and supports local economies by making it easier for customers to reach businesses. The benefits extend to the entire community, connecting people to essential services, education, and recreation. This creates a more inclusive city where everyone can access the resources they need to thrive. Supporting the Choose How You Move transit referendum is an investment in our future. This is about creating a city where businesses can flourish, residents can thrive, and the community enjoys a higher quality of life. Join me in backing this transformative opportunity. Let's build a Nashville where everyone has the opportunity to succeed and to prosper. Visit the link in the caption to learn more about the referendum, how it will support our community, and how you can get involved. Thank you.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door. 615-737-1045. We've had some great calls in today. It's been fun talking to you guys, so keep it coming. We got a few phone lines open, but first we're going to G Money out in my favorite Tennessee city in Memphis, Tennessee, where I graduated college. Love Memphis. And he wants to talk about Levis, and he wants to challenge me to something. G Money, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Gentlemen, good to be on the phone with you. I do live in Nashville, but I just happen to be in Memphis for business right now.
Gotcha.
But Zach, Zach, you make a lot of great points. I'm not necessarily here to defend Levis as much as I really want him to succeed, because I think it bodes well for the Titans, because they have so many different holes to fill and get this roster right. That, taking a quarterback, I don't necessarily want to see it happen. This is what I want to challenge you on. I hear you say it's a quarterback issue, right? And I honestly think, as bad as Will Levis has played, and he has, again, I'm not going to defend him, but I also don't hear the same criticism for Callahan. And to me, Callahan doesn't seem like he's a competent coach right now. For him to have this modern-day offense that's supposed to take us to the next level, he has had several games where you can't score a single point in the second half, and that was even with Mason Rudolph, who I would venture to say you would say he's a better quarterback or a better option than Will Levis. And so with that being said, my whole thing is, if Will Levis has gotten worse with an offensive-minded coach than he was under Vrabel, who's a defensive-minded coach, and Lord knows I didn't care for the offensive staff under Vrabel, but Levis has gotten worse. I would even venture to say Mason Rudolph has gotten worse with this staff than he was his last year in Pittsburgh. Can you tell me and make the case for why Callahan is the right coach moving forward? Now, I get it, they're not going to fire him, because you would then have 3 coaches on payroll with Vrabel, him, and whoever the new coach is. But I don't trust Callahan to pick a quarterback and develop him when he's proven in the short sample size that he does not make quarterbacks better. From his play calling, going in the red zone numerous times, and and throwing the ball without running the ball. I think this last game was the first time he actually learned his lesson. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on why you feel confident that Callahan is actually the right coach, because I feel like, as bad as Levis has played, he's the easy scapegoat, and Callahan gets a pass. I am not impressed with Callahan. Thanks, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
No problem. So here's where I'm at with this, is that I think we've talked about the bad of Callahan and the bad of Rand Carthon. I can give you a few things off the top of my head. Traylon Burks over NWI, the whole Elijah Molden situation, some in-game decisions that we've talked about, the final 53 roster construction, Jaquan Jackson, edge rusher, right tackle. They have done a lot of bad and things that need to get corrected next year. The thing that I see with Brian Callahan is that, and the reason why I have faith in him to go in the next year, because I know what Brian Callahan can be. I know what he has been. I have seen every stop that he has made, the successful offenses that he has been a part of, that he has helped and been around. He has that experience. And I see it in the pressers every time he's talking about the ins and outs, the X's and the O's, talking about what they're building. We've heard it from players. To me, I look at everything, that's a guy you give another chance to. And there's a difference between a guy you give another chance to and a guy that you know is going to be good. I'm not saying that Brian Callahan can be a Super Bowl winning head coach. I really don't know. But there are a lot of people and fans that are wanting to get rid of Dan Campbell. There are a lot of people and fans wanting to get rid of Kyle Shanahan. Hell, there's people that want to get rid of Kyle Shanahan this year. I mean, there's fans always want to get rid of coaches. But if you go back and look at what's the problem is with the NFL right now, it's not just a quarterback development problem. There's a coach development problem. And it's not given guys time to learn and gel. And we have seen that given time, given new pieces, they can correct some of the mistakes that they are doing. But at the end of the day, he is scoring more points per game than Vrabel's last 2 years. They have more passing touchdowns than the last 2 years. But the problem is that you have a really good scheme. Players are still playing hard. He's holding players accountable. But the problem comes down to is that, listen, right tackle's an issue, pass rush is an issue. There are other issues on the team. So when I say that Will Levis is an issue, it was in regards to Will Levis versus the coaching staff. And Will Levis is a massive issue. Think about the games that he's lost. If you had a different quarterback, we've said it all year. If we had a different quarterback that could execute Bill Callahan's offense, you'd probably be looking at a team on the outside, just on the outside of a wild card race. That's what you're looking at. You're looking at possibly a 7-7 team, and we're not having these discussions right now. But at the end of the day, this players over plays, and Will Levis, I don't think took a step back. I think we've just seen that we have more exposure to Will Levis, and they don't take the ball from him in most cases like they did last year because they don't have a Derrick Henry to fall back on offense like Vrabel and them did last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, but yeah, he asked, the wonder wonder power there, Zach. So yeah, that's good.
I mean, sorry, I just kind of went on a big rant there, but I mean, it's like it's a crazy
thing. Back memories.
Well, I look at it like this, Blaine. It's in a year like this, it's so much easier to blame one person or blame the figureheads than to blame a quarterback. This was all the thing about Marcus, right? Mm-hmm. When Marcus was trailing off and was trending in the wrong direction, people said it was everything around. Too many offensive coordinators. The offensive line isn't blocking. These receivers can't get separation. This scheme sucks. All this stuff. And then they put in Ryan Tannehill, and that team's trajectory changes. We have evidence, and that players can make the coaches. We have evidence. We have evidence that players can fit your scheme and execute a scheme better than other players can. Mm-hmm. Just because you're a young quarterback that's drafted doesn't mean that, listen, like I said, Will Levis could go on and be Geno Smith in 8 years, 9 years.
Right, because we don't have time to be patient
We
for him.
just don't.
And let alone, there's also other issues around him with his own unforced errors.
Yeah.
So, even looking at the offensive line, there's times I look like, oh, man, they're developing. And then there's other times I go, oh, man, they took a step back too as well, but they're not the quarterback.
Right.
I mean, so we can look at J.C. Lather. I don't know what the pass rate, wasn't a lot of sacks, but, he's still just puddling along, and still these last 2 or 3 games has just been okay compared to what he started off at. It seems like MPF actually did okay yesterday. So, you just don't know. So it's an up and down roller coaster. What you don't want is a whole bunch of dives, and that's what it was.
Yeah.
Because you can't live through those dives. You have no shot when that happens. And he's shown signs that that's who he is, Will Levis, and then he actually showed it. Signs, and then he showed it.
Yeah.
And so that's what's really worrisome here.
Look at the game last night. Geno Smith leaves with an injury. Mm-hmm. Sam Howell comes in, utter disaster. Same scheme, same coaches, same system. The quarterback goes in. The pressure to sack rates, quarterback stats, you see him play behind the same offensive line, and then the sacks go up with one quarterback, go down with the other. It happens. Mm-hmm. And that's not to say that I'm not absolving the coach of all blame. I went through a list of a bunch of blame on the coaches.
The coaches always have to be some part of the blame, but ultimately the players are the one on the field executing the plan. Whether it's a good play call, I've been sitting there sometimes and go, man, why do they call this as a player on the field? It has the power to change the call.
Yeah.
And go, ooh, man, I don't want to do this right now. This is not the time. And then it works out. And then sometimes, other times, then it doesn't work. So you just got to execute, and hopefully you believe in everything that your coaches and what your players are good at, and put them in good situations and then let them play. So, I think you have to be patient here. We have now an offensive-minded coach. Now we got to get him with a new administration, and now we need to get him his quarterback. And let's just see how the cookie crumbles as that goes. And if it doesn't go right, then you make wholesale changes. But you got to let him have a shot of getting his guy.
Look at it this way. Yesterday, Will Levis threw 3 interceptions, all from clean pockets. I mean, what else? I mean,
Well,
like,
the one
I
the stone
understand.
right down the middle was just horrific.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I
watching
understand
that,
that the
I thought I
offensive
could
line
get
has
off
been
my
a problem elsewhere.
chair and do that. I'm like, man, he looked at the guy the whole entire way.
But when everything's clicking for him, he can't click with it. It's really weird. Like when the offensive line is really good, he can't go with them. He should be at his best.
He
should be at his best, and he's not. Like at the end of the day, this is just who Will Levis is. This is who he was against SEC teams. This is why a lot of SEC fans of other teams try to tell you, not just UT fans, other teams try to tell you, Will Levis ain't a dude. And here we are, because all of his stats come against, FCS schools and your Kent States and all that.
And the Ball States.
Yeah, maybe your Ball States. So, like, at the end of the day, it's pretty apparent that Will Levis is an issue. Now, that may still mean that Brian Callahan maybe is not the coach for the Tennessee Titans long term. That may mean the same about Rand Carthon. But it's an undisputable fact that your quarterback, Will Levis, is not your answer at quarterback. Undisputable. I mean, I just don't see how you could do it. Let's go to Paul in Columbia, who wants to talk about Will Levis. Paul, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Yes, I mean, one thing I want to say is I've been a Titans fan. I was even a Houston Oilers fan with Earl Campbell. For me, and I hope, and I'll get off as I give you the question I'm asking is, Blaine, for me, body language. When Will Levis threw all those interceptions and he knew he was going to be benched, I see him on the sideline just kind of joking and laughing with another teammate. And then when you look at Burrow, he's over upset with him because he missed on two. To me, that's not what I want out of my quarterback. I want him to be upset by himself, knowing that he's put the game in jeopardy. I just don't think that's good body language. I may be wrong. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But I just don't like seeing that when you see it and you have camaraderie with another player. I don't know who the other player was, but he's over, kind of smiling. To me, that's not what you want to see in your quarterback. And I'll get off, and I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Paul, for the call.
I think it's two different situations. One, people want him to be upset about the benching, and he was in his own way. So you don't have to be emotional to show that. So I don't know if he was or wasn't. I would think that he was. But to sit there and just think about it and be upset in your own way, I think you should be and be disappointed. And that nobody wants to get benched. I mean, there's no way around it. So. I've seen guys getting benched. I've never been benched myself personally, so you can't really I can't take myself like through that whole emotional transformation there. But your quarterback is supposed to be steady Eddie, and this is one time that I actually think he was. Now I don't want him over there laughing and you got benched. Now you got to know when the appropriate time to be doing all that. That I don't care what the guy said a joke. Maybe he said a joke to you to get you to relax, and you just like smiled and try to keep it moving. But yeah, you shouldn't be happy about any of that. And I'll be full blazing and ready to rock and roll this weekend. We shall see if he goes out there this week or not. And then how he performs if he does get an opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, I look at it, Blaine, and there's going to be a lot of think pieces and radio segments and all this stuff talking about Rand Carthon and Brian Callahan. Their blame at this and their fault in this. But at the end of the day,
they have their fall guy.
Levis. They have some faults.
Yeah.
Right tackle, edge rusher, like two blatant holes that were not addressed. And there were stuff that they were their growing pains of the entire coaching staff, trying to figure out, what players to bring in, what players to put where. Listen, they have not been perfect. But when your quarterback is doing the stuff that Will Levis does, 4 pick sixes this year. How many Jameis Winston had in his 30 interception season? 6. So he's only 2 less than 30 interception Jameis Winston, who also threw for over 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, by the way.
Who's also available after the season.
Who's also available. But at the end of the day,
hilarious.
like when you really look at it, I mean, Will Levis is hurting the team. There's just no way around it. Yeah. And he hurts their chances. You can run through the games where he has cost them points or he hasn't been able to even put them in a position to try to win the game.
For sure, yeah, I would.
I mean, because you look at the Colts game, he threw that interception. They got the ball back, got a stop at the end, but he still couldn't drive down the field. And that was a 2017 game. Like, he can't get you those big wins and show up in big moments, and that tells you everything you need to know about the quarterback. Again, does not mean anything for when he lives here. But you guys got to quit focusing on that because it's about the match here in Tennessee. It's not about his match elsewhere. Maybe he gets traded to Liam Cohen, and then when Baker Mayfield's contract is up in 2 more seasons, maybe he takes over for Baker Mayfield, and he looks great.
Somebody saying that we can develop him.
Yeah,
and
so maybe he looks great.
We have time.
Right. But the Tennessee Titans do not have time. They're always been perpetually behind the 8 ball. They're behind the 8 ball and finding a quarterback to develop
because
when it was
they didn't
perfect.
say we are rebuilding.
Yes.
They held on too long to the great players thing, and they still had a shot, and time was up.
Right. I mean, they waited and they tried to get Malik Willis, and then they failed at developing him. The prior staff did. So then they turn around and get Will Levis. But at that point, it's too late because this is a guy that clearly needed more time to sit on the bench, and there's no way to provide him that. And he got thrown into a bad situation last year. He got thrown into a situation this year with a better coach, and he's being asked to do more from the quarterback position. He's not living up to it. It's just got to call a spade at some point.
Well, he can't do it. So to me, then up to the coach then to dumb it down or give him less responsibility. And I think he's done that to help him be more effective on the field because the coach wants to win too. So I'm sure they've kind of gone through that process. One thing I can say that I feel like the coaching staff in general on both sides of the ball, special teams included, I think they made some assumptions that certain players knew certain things and that they've already been in this league and they should know. You never do that. You start from ground zero when you're a new coach and coaching staff and see who actually can take in what and what they actually do know. You will know based off their questions.
And there are some players that are just practice heroes, right? I look good in practice. I look good in preseason. And then here I come into the game, and then they're like, they suck.
Oh, man, I forgot that running back. I got duped on at practice myself, live and in action. I'm like, oh, man. Oh man, who was it? Henry? No, not the Henry from.
You talking about Chris Henry,
yes.
the guy that was supposedly really fast before Chris Johnson?
Oh man, I got duped. I was like, oh man, he looks great in shorts, but we all know when we get the pads on, he looked good in pads at practice. He in the game, he's like, oh no, he run. I start calling him. He runs the darkness. He didn't know where he was running.
I mean, it is wild. You know, it's just. They're in such a tough situation because everybody's like, well, you can get Cam Ward or you can get Jalen Milroe or this or that. And I'm like, man, it's Matt Miller, the NFL draft scout, said what I've been saying this whole time. The perfect quarterback in this draft class that is at the top end of the draft, that is perfect for this system that Brian Callahan wants to run is Shedeur Sanders. And but the problem is you're not going to be in a position to get them, more than likely. I mean, anything can happen by the time the NFL draft comes around in April, but it doesn't seem you're going to be in the position to get them. So like, what do you do?
Right. So if they lose out, what pick will they have? They lose the rest of their game.
Oh, man, that'd be hard because then you'd have to figure out what everybody else is going to do.
Based off of, let's say the other ones don't
Let's say they could probably work their way in the second overall pick.
Maybe.
They're going to have, the other teams are going to have to win games.
They may have a shot because the first pick is by who? They want
I believe it's Vegas and Giants. Let me pull it up real quick.
Oh, Vegas. Oh, no, it's the Giants. So they need a quarterback. Vegas needs a quarterback, so we're third pick.
It goes, Giants right now because Vegas hasn't played this week yet. So if Vegas loses today, they should be ahead of the Giants. Okay, so Vegas, Giants are going to be the top two. Then you have New England. Then you have Jacksonville. Then you have Carolina, which their 3 situations seem to be pretty straightforward, and you play Jacksonville. And then it's Tennessee. So you may be looking at QB3, and QB3 in this draft class is probably QB7 in another draft class. I mean, it's a little early to be saying that, but it's also not that early to be saying that. Let's go to Jim in Hendersonville real quick. Wants to talk about Will Levis. Jim, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Thanks for taking my call. Blaine, this is a question for you.
Uh-oh.
I have never had anybody to explain how any pro team could go through the process of drafting somebody that would draft our quarterback or the Richardson boy that came from Florida going to Indianapolis. I watched them for 4 years in the SEC, both of them. They're doing the same thing today they did then. how is it possible to overlook what they've always been? This should not be a surprise to anybody. If you ever
that
saw
always
Will Levis
fascinated
play.
me too. I mean,
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. That was always fascinating. Zach knows too. I mean, you can speak on this as well. Is that they go after the talent and the upside and the potential of what they can be, and then they also think they can develop them. I mean, Richardson is a great case of, well, he only started 14 games, 15 games, or whatever the number was, and he was up and down like a roller coaster. I just remember he played well against Tennessee. I think they still lost too, by the way. So I just. That's what they look at. And if they can turn him into something special because he has those special gifts, that's where they take their risk. And they think that's what they should do and take risk on first round. I mean, that's why you see so many busts. It's not just the quarterback position. They reach on other players too as well. It's just that's the one with the ball and everybody knows who they are because of how the NFL parlays and markets quarterbacks. So, yeah, that goes on all the time. And that's what people are going to see with Levis, to Zach's point. They may even still be able to get a 5th-round pick for him because of his arm talent. And somebody's going to say, we have 2 more years. We got a guy, Baker Mayfield, whatever. We can sit him behind and just develop him all the way around. And that's what gives people hope.
Yeah, I think
you can't teach talent.
Right.
You can't teach talent.
Exactly.
But see, I'm the blue-collar guy that beat the guy with all the talent.
Yeah.
And I know how you get them because most of those guys that have talent has scooted along and their football IQ isn't high because they relied on their talent. So you got to know who you're facing and then how you can get them. They may get me one time, but I'm going to try to make sure I don't put myself in that compromising position to go up there against this receiver that's 6'3", that has a 38, 40-inch vertical when, I'm the 5'10" guy who has the 42-inch vertical, but I'm not going to get in a foot race with this guy, and I know, so I'm going to put my hands on him. I'm going to try to intimidate him throughout the game. Hey, don't be coming across this middle, man. I'm breathing down your neck. Hey, man, how's your ankle doing? I'm trying to do everything I can to get in his head because those guys are fragile, and usually they have been the best player. And until they face another player that has dog in them, then they don't want that. They don't want none of that because nobody's ever challenged them.
And to Jim's question from my end, people get too enthralled with the ceiling of a player. Yeah. And I'm going to leave you guys with this before we go into break and before we close out the show. Listen, you know why that ceiling looks so far up and so high? Because that floor is so low. So we're going to go to break. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop, Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors. This show has flown by. I was talking to Lauren, my wife, before I left the house. I was like, man, it's going to be a rough, week for content and all this stuff. I'm like, man, this team, it's going to be basically all Will Levis and all this stuff. And this completely flew by. I mean, it's been awesome. The callers have been awesome. I've enjoyed that. The chat has been active over the F&M Bank chat over on Zone TV, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live. 615-737-1045. Last chance to get heard about this team. And of course, tomorrow we got Coach Mack. Can't wait to come up with questions to ask for Coach Mack tomorrow, but it's going to be fun. It's always good to have Coach Mack on the show. So, Blaine, I want to ask you a question. This is going to totally go away from talking about Will Levis.
You're leg whipping me.
We're not talking about Will Levis. In the red zone yesterday, is there any kind of offensive personnel that Cincinnati can trot out there where you as a defensive coordinator are going to say, I'm not putting Arden Key and Harold Landry out there? Because on that 9-second touchdown throw where, Jalen Harrell's in there getting bullied and pushed to the ground, Tavondre Sweat gets out of reach and can't close in on the sack, and they throw the touchdown to Chase Brown because Luke Gifford was like 5 steps behind him the whole way in the route. You can see the dots.
Is this when he got the penalty?
No penalty. But I mean, Harold Landry and Arden Key are not in that game and not in that red zone package. Is there really any excuse not to have those guys in, barring injury?
Well, what down was it?
Oh, man, I have to go back and look.
Now, I'm going to say this. Now, usually when you have a long drive, and if they've been driving, obviously they got into the red zone, right? So I'm assuming that they drove the ball down. The big guys in the trenches usually get tired and they go out. Sometimes it just happenstance that they go out at the wrong time as far as this is third down. Where are you? I remember I used to say that to Javon Curse all the time. I'd point to him on the sideline. He's been over there drinking water. Like, what are you doing? It's third down. Why are you not out here with us? So, the substitution pattern is unique in that you can't, as long as they're not doing it on a regular basis. If it was just this one game, I think I'm going to give them a pass. But there's not a time that you don't want your best players on the field. Now, if you thought when they brought in a certain personnel that they're going to do the run game, you maybe put some more run front type guys in there. I don't know if Harold's more of a run stuffer than Key, but I don't know. I haven't watched the tape on any of those guys as far as being in the red zone. So you want your best players out there in the red zone, but there are times when it does happen. Just on rotation.
1st and 6, by the way. First down, 6 yards to go.
Line. Yeah, I'm gonna say this. I'm a little disappointed because they should have been like, nah, I'm staying out here. Even if they tell the guy to come in, they rotate. Because usually those guys in the trenches on a numbers count, like they kind of rotate them in, and sometimes they miss the rotation, or sometimes they may even tapped on their head and said, hey, I need a rest. I can't give it all I need to at this point in time. At least give me a play break. So I don't know how long were they out.
Oh, man, they were only out there for, that was a 3-minute and 23, oh, wait a minute, hold on. Yeah, 3-minute and 23-second drive, if I'm not mistaken.
And they were out from the 6 yards in?
Yes.
For the whole time?
No. They had 6 plays, 29 yards. This is off the intercept. No, that's Tennessee Titans. I'm sorry. They usually
But that does sound a little odd, but I wouldn't get fixated unless you've seen
4 minutes and 16 seconds.
Repeatedly, game in and game out, that these guys are coming out.
Yeah, 9 plays, 70 yards. That would be 4 minutes, 16 seconds on that. And usually Harold Landry is a guy that plays all the time, never comes off. And I just thought it was weird that both of them were off, and you got Jalen Harrell as your edge rusher in that play. It's just, I've seen Tavondre Sweat and Big Jeff come off before, and I get kind of, they're a little heavier and everything, but Harold Landry and Arden Key on 1st down and 6, and maybe you're thinking you're going to get the stop, so you're giving them a little bit of rest because you think you can get the stop, but terrible timing.
Maybe 1st down and 2nd down they're out, and then they're out there for the 3rd down so they can give a good pass rush. Oh, here's what I have to say this. Of all the things that happened in the game, I'm going to just give him this title. King Sweat. Is that too much? With the straight arm that he used? Like the King, yeah. Henry. That was the funnest part of the game because
that's the funnest part of the season. I mean, that may be the funnest part of 2 seasons since the Atlanta game, or maybe even the Dolphins overtime game.
I came home and I rewatched the game. I asked my wife, "You think you could beat him in a 40?"
Yeah.
She said,
"You may not be able to."
I don't know. He was moving.
And what about the Tajay Spears, palming the ball
over the top and carrying
what a great visual.
I
really thought after those plays, you're thinking, man, this team is coming out. And this is why, again, for the people that like to come in here into the chat or come on the radio and say, well, why do you believe in Brian Callahan or this and that? This team shows no effort. All that team yesterday did show effort. Tony Pollard,
all day.
Tony Pollard played through a big injuries. Gave it everything he had.
You can see him limping too. He was fighting through it.
And listen, he's safe next year, right? I mean, his contract's safe.
Play.
Kenneth Murray is another guy that was just giving it its all, playing through injury. Tavondre Sweat also is apparently playing through significant injury, and he's giving it everything he's got. These guys, Tajay Spears has been injured all year. These guys are still fighting and playing for their head coach. Their head coach has not lost this locker room. That is another piece of evidence, and that's not happening. At this point, it's not happening. It's cemented. And that is another reason you allow him to take it that next step next year. This is the foundation year of what he's trying to build. Next year, they're going to build the studs and the frame of the house. So you got to give them time to do that.
Yeah. So I know it's rough. Just got to be patient. I know we're all disappointed, but I think they're on the right track. You just got to believe in what they're putting out there as far as the potential of what these players can be. Just imagine if we change the quarterback, get a polished quarterback, and now the offensive line looks totally different. Bring in your right tackle. Now get you another piece with the wide receivers after you lose Boyd. Then all of a sudden, everything may start clicking. Next thing you know, the NFL is built on season by season.
Yeah. One
season you can be bad. Next season you can be playoff contending, playoff team. So you just never know. Once you get in the playoffs, all bets are off.
I mean, if you look at this team, I thought it was real interesting in the sense that there was an article up by Connor Orr today that he talks about the state of the NFL sloppiness situation. Like, it's pretty sloppy. And he talks about that a part of it is because of the constant rotation of coaches coming in and out and not being able to build a foundation. And, he also goes on to mainly talk about officiating and how poor officiating has been. So you kind of got to give them time. But how many teams are we talking about right now that have 4 wins or less? 9 teams currently have 4 wins or less. A lot of bad teams with better quarterback situations and better hopes for the season. There's a lot of teams that are going to be in the same situation next year if they start ditching and moving parts a little bit too quickly. So you got to make sure you have the right people in place to carry out a vision. And that's why I believe in Brian Callahan and Rand Carthon. All right, that will do it for us. 3 HLs up next. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. And in the meantime.
And in between time.
Peace.